Hi, Judy. Hello. Hello. Great. Hello. Hello, Judy. Great. Hello. Hello, Judy. Olu. Ade. Ade. Can you help me, please? I did this yesterday and then I can hear them. Judy is on. Oh, I can hear you. I don't think I have a mic. Okay, let me see. Okay. See, I can hear her either. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. She said, I have no idea what you're doing. I can hear you. I don't think I have a mic. I can hear you. I don't think my computer has a microphone so I can talk. Okay. Well, if you can hear me, Judy, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Oops. Okay. Okay, you can hear me talking to Ade. Now I am going to grab my desktop. If I can X out of all this stuff. The practicing went well. I don't know why. Find my okay desktop.
needs 3,400 calories a day to maintain their weight. But this is all really complicated and not all that fun. So what should you do? You should not count calories. Really, when you think about it, if you're eating balanced meals containing healthy carbohydrates, healthy proteins, and healthy fats, you are going to maintain a healthy body, but also promote less body fat and more muscle mass accretion. You also need to eat when you're hungry and don't if you're not. However, if you're hungry all the time, you may need to evaluate, why are you hungry all the time? Are you emotional eating? Are you eating because you're not feeling well? Are you eating to fill a void? Are you eating because your metabolism is messing with you and you really don't need that many calories? So eat when you're truly hungry. Understand what true hunger is. It's a true biological process. But if you find yourself you're eating every 5-10 minutes or every hour, that maybe isn't hunger. It may be something more psychological. If you're eating regularly, it also helps to keep your energy levels stable. So most people are recommended to eat every 3 to 5 hours and within 2 hours of waking up. Waking up means coming out of bed and getting your day started. But eating like this is going to help keep your blood sugar levels stable, which prevent highs and lows, which can cause increased fat storage and also low energy levels, which can make you crave and want foods you would normally not eat. You also have to be very mindful about what you are eating. Some people have an argument that breakfast maybe isn't the most important part of the day, but it's not the problem with breakfast. It's a problem with what people choose for breakfast. So reevaluate, are you eating a food that's balanced in protein, carbs, and fat? Or are you eating a traditional breakfast food, which is things like pancakes and syrup or cereal and milk? You also need to eat a substantial meal following a hard workout. So say you go to a heavy fitness class or you're doing some great lifting or a fast spinning class. You want to eat a good hearty meal, balanced in protein, carbs, and some fats. You don't need a lot of fats following a workout, mostly protein and carbohydrates. And we'll talk about that more as we go along in this nutrition training course. But this is going to help you recover from your workout, help your muscles to repair, and help you feel better so that you can work out hard again the next day. Remember, breakfast is a great meal. Again, keeping it balanced and keeping it healthy is what's going to be great. Things like pancakes and syrup are just going to send you on a blood sugar roller coaster, which is going to make you not feel good and store fat when you actually want to burn it and feel good all the time. And remember, coffee is not food. Avoid alcohol, sweets, and fried foods, because those are things that we tend to eat too much of and also cause our body to store fat and become more unhealthy. Now, what happens when you don't really know what's going on with your nutrition? You need to understand when you need to increase your calories or rethink your food choices, because everyone's built differently and you may not be eating enough, even if you think you are. So you need to eat more or rethink of what you're eating and choosing to put in your body when you see signs of undernutrition or low calories. Things like mood swings, a decrease or an increase in appetite, a decrease in your willingness to exercise, and poor sleep quality. If these things start happening to you, it means that you're not eating enough or you're not eating the right nutrition for your body. And you need to really look deep and decide, am I doing the right thing for myself? In this time, you also need to back off your exercise training and recheck the quality and quantity of your food choices, because you're lacking nutrients that your body actually needs. So take a little bit of a break, sit back, reevaluate, reassess, and start over again. Really listen to your body, because that's the smartest thing you have within your capacity to make decisions about what's good for you. Now, what kind of food do most people choose? Unfortunately, we choose things like chips and pizza and wings and pretzels and candies, things that we don't really need and aren't really going to fuel our body in the right way. Sure, these are fine from time to time, like I said, in moderation, but they're not where you're going to get your nutrition and your energy from. You do have time to make better choices. These foods don't take a lot of time to make. You can prepare them ahead of time on the weekends. Some of them are just really pop open and eat, like Planters mixed nuts, for example, yogurt. You can make better food choices. You do not have to go the fast food route. Really, you need to sit down, enjoy, and be mindful. Don't try to eat and do your work and not pay attention to what's going in your body, or you maybe gotta be like that guy on the right who's pouring orange juice into cereal instead of milk, which is just silly. So be like our monkey guy on the left, who's being mindful, taking his time, and really enjoying what's going in his body and understanding how it's fueling him so he can feel better. It's a little bit of the French women don't get fat paradox, or the European paradox, where people take time, be mindful when they eat instead of just eating on the run like we do here in America. Now, when you're choosing foods, you can use the food labels to help you to make better choices. So just some things about food labels. Food labeling is regulated and required on 75% of all the foods in the US. The USDA is the governing body that regulates meat and poultry, and meat and poultry usually aren't labeled. Um, Packaged food must be labeled because it is put together with various ingredients, and we need to know what's in those things. Raw fruits, vegetables, meats, poultry, and fish are optional because they're usually single food ingredient foods or single item foods, which we can look up on nutrition facts to find the information. Sometimes they are labeled, and you can use that information to your health advantage. And if you look at it, most unlabeled foods are unhealthy. Raw foods, vegetables, meats, poultry, and fish are the ones that aren't labeled. So if you don't see the label on a food, oftentimes that's one that's going to be best for you. Now, when you do look at a food label, you need to keep a couple things in mind. What's required? When you're looking at the ingredients, which are usually below the nutrition facts label, the ones that contain the calories, fat, protein information, the ingredients there are listed in descending order by weight. So your greatest quantity ingredient is going to be listed first, and then the smaller quantity ingredients are going to be listed lower down the list. However, it doesn't mean that those lower quantity ingredients are less important. You still need to pay attention to them. In the nutrition facts label, what you'll see on a nutrition facts label is your serving size, which you need to be careful of because that can be tricky. Sometimes you can be consuming a food which you think is one serving size based on the nutrition facts label, but it may be 2 or 3 if you eat the whole thing. You have to look at the servings per container, which helps give you that information. So knowing how much is a serving. Total calories and calories from fat are listed. The grams per milligram of fat, saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, sodium, carbs, fiber, sugars, and protein are listed, and then your percent daily value. I highlighted trans fat because that's one thing that's new to labels, and that even if a label does contain 0 grams of trans fat, it may still have it in there. So you have to watch out for foods in the ingredients that have hydrogenated oils in them because that will still contain trans fat. You do need to be careful because that's one serious health offender that does have a significant correlation to heart disease. On labels in the front, you're going to see things called nutrient content claims, things like free, low, high, good source, reduced, and light. Here it goes over what those things mean. So a free, like if you have a fat-free food, for example, the product must have 0.5 grams or less of fat or sugar per serving, just like trans fat-free. We'll say that on it, but it still may have some, so you have to be careful, especially with trans fats. Low food, like a food that has low fat, contains no more than 3 grams of fat. A high food usually refers to vitamins and minerals, which are listed in your daily values. And if a food contains 20% or more of the daily value of a vitamin or mineral, it'll say high. Good source, 10 to 19% of the daily value. Reduced, a food that contains 25% or less of a nutrient or energy than a regular product. And then a light product has 1/3 less calories or 50% less fat. So that's what those things mean. But you do have to be careful because all these label claims may actually be nothing. So a food like a banana, which is fat-free, which is true, but a banana is just a fruit. So technically most fruits other than avocados don't ever have fat anyway. So it's just a way to make you buy the food. There's also claims like natural, organic, low carb, gluten-free, real, whole grains. A natural food pretty much means nothing. Natural is actually an unregulated term, just like natural peanut butter, which really doesn't mean much other than it has minimal processing to it or no unnatural ingredients were added, but it may still be not a great food. Organic foods, you can buy organic candy and it's still not good for you. Gluten-free, people have been really interested in gluten-free foods, but gluten-free foods can still have quite a bit of sugar and fat. I've seen gluten-free donuts out there. No one said those were good for you. All natural, like I said, butter flavor granules. Tell me how natural butter flavor is. And then fiber added to foods is a big thing, but a food that is added fiber like these Kellogg's Fiber Plus with antioxidants is still a high sugar, not very healthy food for you. And you can get a lot of fiber in beans, fruits, and vegetables. You don't need to buy a processed food like this. So don't buy into label claims. Don't let foods confuse you. But I do want you to read labels, and especially the ingredients. Don't just look at nutrition facts. Ingredients are what is going to really give you a key to what this food you're eating really is. For example, what's this food? It's something everyone eats often or uses daily. And the ingredients are water, corn syrup solids, partially hydrogenated hydrogenated soybean and or cottonseed oil, which means this food does have trans fat if you have more than what the serving contains. And in this food, that may be the case. And then it says that it has less than 2% of natural and artificial flavors. Sodium caseinate, which is a milk derivative. Maltodextrin is a sweetener. Mono and diglycerides, which is an emulsifier. Dipotassium phosphate, it's a preservative. Color added. Carrageenan is a thickener. Dextrose, sweetener. Sucralose, artificial sweetener. And sulfate potassium, which is also an artificial sweetener. Well, what is this? It's Coffee Mate. And look, Coffee Mate is sugar-free. It has a heart on it. It has 0 grams of trans fat, it says on there. But it's not really a food. It's a food product, and you shouldn't eat it. This is another one. You call this food? This is Peter Pan reduced fat peanut butter. This peanut butter is not really peanut butter. It's a peanut butter that contains peanuts, corn syrup solids, sugar, soy protein, salt, and all these other items that aren't really food. So overall, you just need to be very careful when you're looking at your food products. Look at the ingredients and really consider, what are you putting in your body? Is a reduced fat peanut butter really good for you? Obviously not. And then we've got things like, only in the USA, you will see Nutri-Grain bars, which contain the word Nutri, and grain, which obviously means they're healthy for you, contain artificial colors just to make them more red. Or if you go to European countries, you won't get that same kind of additives. They use coloring like beetroot, annatto, paprika extract to give their food extra color instead of these artificial colors. And these artificial colors actually have negative side effects. Ponzu, red, sodium benzoates, yellow, sunset, these are dyes and colorings and preservatives that are often found in foods that can cause things like allergic reactions, skin intolerances, nasal congestion, vomiting, abdominal pains, hyperactivity. So you do need to have a quick look and a thorough look, I should say, at your food labels to see, am I eating something that's very artificial, and is this going to give me a negative side effect? And don't let labels fool you into buying something that you think may be healthy. This is 2 examples of baked potato chips by the company Lay's. The ones on the left are light, which have half the calories and are fat-free. And then baked Lay's are on the right, and those are your regular ones. And someone would say, well, light's got less calories, it's got the skinny person dancing on the picture, must be good for me. Well, if you turn it around and you look, the low-fat light potato chips have 120 calories, and your regulars have 140. The light have 3 grams of fat. How did they get fat-free? But that's what they're saying. And the regulars have 7. Carbohydrates are actually higher in the low-fat chips, the light chips, where they're actually lower in the regular potato chips. So if you're going to buy the one on the left that may actually even be more expensive and may actually contain other additives in there that may not be good for you compared to a regular potato chip, you really need to decide, is that going to be better for me? And usually it's not. You're usually best going with the regular versions versus something that's artificial. So remember, also read those labels about serving sizes. So this one on the left is 14 and the one on the right is 12 chips. And who actually ever eats just 14 or 12 chips? So you do need to keep that into account if you are looking at how much energy you're consuming with one food. So if you really looked at foods and how they were labeled, this picture here actually describes what would be like if food products were honestly labeled. So you'd see things like heart disease spread, acrylamide potato chips, zero nutrition puffs, colon cancer hot dogs, for sure diabetes drinks, ADHD drinks, obesity pop, which is all natural. You would know that a lot of the foods out there, especially processed foods that are in boxes and labeled, are usually pretty bad for you. Look closely, read labels, be aware. This is a great way to look at a nutrition facts label. Start at the top to look at your servings. Make sure you look at the fat, not necessarily the total amount, but trans fat, you want none, and make sure then in the ingredients there's no hydrogenated fats. Don't worry about saturated fat or cholesterol. Those are the things that have been making us unhealthy all these years. It's been the overabundance of calories, inactivity, and all the chemicals we're consuming. That's not your problem. When you're looking at fiber and sugars, more fiber is good, less sugar is better. Realize that there's these things on the right called daily values, which are estimates based on a typical human, but they may not necessarily apply to you. 5 is low, 20% is high. Look at the daily values for your vitamins and minerals, though, because those are something that can give you a clue at how food is actually fueling you from a micronutrient standpoint. At the bottom there, we as Americans are recommended to have less than 2,400 milligrams of sodium a day, and there is the recommended amount of calories and protein and fat. It's not maybe not be ideal for you. It's just the information that's given based on our government guidelines, which I'm not saying I agree with, but I don't agree with. Daily values are the highest amount of nutrients recommended for any adult age group, and they may over or underestimate for certain people. So don't use them as your governing body. As I said, I'd like you to look at them on terms of vitamins and minerals. So these are standards that make up the daily values. On the bottom are the ones about the vitamins and minerals. So calcium is one common one. And calcium, the daily reference intake that adults are recommended to take in for normal health is 1,000 milligrams. So here, a food that has 30% of calcium in a daily value will have 300 milligrams of calcium. So 1,000 times 0.3 or 30% gives you 300 milligrams. If you have 100% of daily value of a food, of a nutrient, for example, calcium, it's 1,000 milligrams, 130, 1,300 milligrams calcium. And it also lists other nutrients if they're a good source. So this one has vitamin D, which is 400 IUs, vitamin A, and vitamin C. And you can use that daily value table I just showed you previously, if you want to know how good a food is or how much nutrient a food may have for you. This is a really awesome slide that I wish we would have more of. So this guy says, finally, a food label I can understand. Each serving contains 10 grams of fat and 5 grams of thin. So if we really knew what a food did for us, this is what it would say. So how do you really determine if a food is healthy for you? First, if it doesn't have a label, it's probably healthy for you. Fruits, vegetables, meats, and fish are the ones that we want to consume most of, and they are not labeled for the most part. Read the list of ingredients. Don't just look at calories and macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. Avoid foods with these listed near the top anywhere. Artificial sugars and extra sugars, which are predominantly a lot of the foods we have in our market today. Artificial colors, artificial flavors, and any other additives or ingredients. If you can't pronounce it half the time, unless it's a vitamin and mineral, which are usually hard to pronounce, but most foods, if you can't pronounce them or you don't know what the heck it is, the ingredients, don't eat it. Remember that even an organic or gluten-free food can still be junk, like gluten-free donuts, which are gluten-free, wheat-free, dairy-free, and soy-free, but they're still donuts. If a food makes you sick, don't eat it. Listen to your body and let it tell you what it likes and what it doesn't like. Don't worry what anyone else says. Your body's pretty smart. And then remember that freezer and microwave foods are not ideal. So especially foods that you microwave in plastic or those steamer vegetables out there, don't put them in the microwave. Please cook in a stove, in an oven, not in plastic. The plastic is not doing us any good and is not healthy for us. And we'll talk about more of that in future nutrition lessons. And then we've got common nutrition misunderstandings that for a healthy diet may throw you off track. First, people are still scared of fat, but you have to remember that dietary fat doesn't make you fat. There are healthy fats out there like nuts, nut butter, seeds, avocados, egg yolks, fatty fishes like salmon and trout, and olive oil that actually lead to healthy skin and a better body composition, and you want to include them in your diet. Fat is not evil, and you should be eating it. Number two, carbohydrates are not perfect. Some people think, well, fat is bad, but carbs are good. If you eat processed carbs like natural granola bars or Nature Valley things, they're not actually a good food. So be careful what kind of grains and starchy carbohydrates you're eating, because they can lead to weight gain very quickly through an insulin response in your body, because these high processed sugary carbohydrate foods bump up insulin in your body, which causes fat storage, which causes you to be sluggish, more irritable, and crave more sugary foods. It's a vicious cycle. And be careful. Carbs are good, but you have to consider, what are they coming from? Carbohydrates that come from fruits, vegetables, and starchy vegetables, and some whole grains, as long as they're not processed whole grains, like a real piece of brown rice versus a whole piece of bread. These are the ones you want to aim for. And then low-calorie diets, people think you just have to cut calories to lose weight. If you cut calories too much, you're going to lose weight, but you probably rebound and you'll be miserable. Exercise and natural food choices are the answer, with controlled calories, understanding what's going in your body and how it's being expended. Overall, what you want to do with your nutrition is make your plate look like this. You want to take vegetables in every meal, things like kale, collard greens, peas, carrots, Brussels sprouts. They're high in antioxidants, fiber, and they're nutrient dense. They'll keep you full and they'll help fill you up when you think you still need to keep eating more. You have those, they're going to be good for your body, fill your tummy, and help you eat less calories. Then you want to include a healthy protein. It can be vegetarian or animal sources. Here I showed salmon and chicken, but if you're a vegetarian, you can include something like beans or edamame, for example. You don't want to eat a lot of processed, fake vegetarian foods, I should say. So healthy protein is going to keep your body even more satisfied, because higher protein diets or diets that contain a significant quantity of protein are most satiating. Including healthy fats, this meal on the right has a bit of avocado that is used with their flourless tortilla or fajita meal. So avocado, guacamole, olive oil, nut seeds, coconut oil, and butter, good fats that can help keep you full and can be used in place if you're going to have a low carbohydrate diet. And then if you are having carbs, choose real grains, not things like whole wheat bread or whole wheat this and that. You want whole grains. It should look like a grain. It should feel like a grain. It should be a grain. And then starchy vegetables, if you're going to have some, keep it moderate. Choose things like brown rice, quinoa, millet, potatoes, corn, not pasta or bread, which people have a lot, and not in every meal though. So you want to actually cut some of your carbs out, having a lunch of a big salad with a little bit of fruit or just cut up avocado and beans. That's going to be better than always having grains or starchy carbs. So this is what you want your nutrition to look like, and this is what a healthy diet is. And I want to conclude there and thank you for listening, and we'll continue on with our second lesson. And thank you very much.
Hi, Judy. You can hear me. I will email out the link shortly. I apologize that you guys didn't hear it from the beginning. So I think I am going to stop it now. Thank you, Judy.